Hello and welcome to talkTV's Tackle This. My name's Shabana Hearn, and with two of the biggest jobs in football available right now, we're asking which club is the best proposition for any manager. Here to debate this with me, we have Chelsea fan and broadcaster Kweku Afari. Kweku, I'm struggling to understand who you might vote for as the best club at this point in time and the better proposition for any manager. But it's not as simple as that because there's a lot we have to break down. Shall we start with Chelsea?
Why not?
Well, do you think they would be the better club for any manager to go to right now?
So over the past maybe 2 decades, Chelsea have been one of the most attractive prospects in world football because of the money spent by Roman Abramovich, because of the purse strings, because of the players they can attract, because they're in West London. But things have changed. Todd Boehly and his ownership group, Clear Lake Capital, came in last May. And it's a very, very different landscape at Stamford Bridge now. They're not so free with the purse strings in terms of giving the manager the autonomy, but they have spent a lot of money. It's been £600 million spent on this squad. But Chelsea's a very, very different team. There's not that pressure from above that there was when Abramovich was in charge, where you saw the manager, it was a revolving door of managers. And it's just a different vibe around the team. So that's why Chelsea at the moment is maybe not as attractive a prospect as they previously were.
The revolving door, I think, keeps spinning with this new ownership.
It's circumstantial, I think, now.
You're looking for your third manager in a season,
I know. Basically, when Tuchel was appointed by Roman Abramovich, that was a manager that came in for Frank Lampard, the club legend. He went and won the Champions League. The club were then sanctioned, and Tuchel was the statesman, the only spokesman for the club for that period of time, which was very, very tumultuous and difficult for Chelsea. In that period, he got Chelsea to 2 cup finals, finished third in the Premier League. And so, as manager, he probably expected more time. But we all know this within football, when there's a new ownership group come in, they want to bring in their own man, they want to bring in their own manager, and Tuchel wasn't that for Clear Lake Capital and Todd Boehly, hence why Graham Potter was brought in. It didn't work with Graham Potter. They spent a lot of money on him as a manager, and he clearly was out of his depth. He's a talented coach, you could see that during the time at Brighton, but it just didn't work out for him at Chelsea, and as a result of the poor results and as a result of Chelsea being in the bottom half of the table come April, they had to make a decision, and hence why Chelsea are looking for their third manager of the season.
Chelsea and Spurs both having vacancies just now for their manager jobs. It's so much to debate because they're such different clubs in terms of the money that's spent. But it feels like Chelsea just now have that old classic saying going around the dressing room at the moment: more money, more problems.
Yeah.
They've spent a hell of a lot of cash and don't have an awful lot to show for it. That's a problem for a manager coming into the club.
That's a huge issue, and Chelsea fans have got used to winning trophies on a regular basis, year on year on year. It's been continuous success. And so you hear the murmurs of discontent amongst the Chelsea fans of Stamford Bridge when results aren't going the way of Chelsea, because even when the managers do change under the previous regime, trophies were still aplenty. If you look at the season Chelsea won the Champions League in their first ever Champions League in 2012, it was Di Matteo who came in for AVB halfway through that season. Again, when Thomas Tuchel won it a couple of years ago, he came in halfway through the season for Frank Lampard. Despite the turmoil off the pitch and the turbulence of the club, Chelsea fans are used to winning trophies. Hence why there is such unrest at Chelsea and such uncertainty about the future as well, because I can't see the next time Chelsea are going to win the trophy.
So why would Julian Nagelsmann want that job? At 35 years young, or any other manager for that matter, age out of the question, to go into a dressing room, you know, you don't get all your players fitting into. How do you sort that out?
We talk about the dressing room. If you think about how bloated Chelsea's squad was under Graham Potter, there's reports that some players had to get changed outside the dressing room because there wasn't enough space in the home dressing room, which is insane. For a manager like Nagelsmann, who is looking for a job after being harshly sacked by Bayern Munich, in my opinion, it's a chance to reset, a chance to go and challenge himself in a different league. It's a squad full of good players. We need to see them exceed at or excel at the highest level. But this is a Chelsea team that, if the right man comes in and can kind of mould the squad in his image, there's an opportunity to do something at Chelsea. And Nagelsmann being so young and being hungry to go into another job, I can see why the Chelsea job would be an exciting prospect for somebody like that.
Frank Lampard's done it. He's been pictured at a game recently, therefore that means he's the manager. Why would Chelsea fans want to go back down a road that didn't succeed?
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And Frank Lampard's a man who scored a lot of goals for Chelsea as a player. And in his season as a manager, his only full season as a manager, a Chelsea squad that were in transition. Eden Hazard had just left the club. The club had another transfer ban. And he led them to 4th place in the Premier League. And Chelsea ended up getting to an FA Cup final. So Frank Lampard's reputation at Chelsea is intact. despite the fact that he was sacked by Roman Abramovich and Chelsea went on to win the Champions League in the season that he was replaced. He was at the game against Liverpool. You can understand why the link's been made in terms of him coming in as the interim manager. Personally, as a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't like to see it. If Frank Lampard's done enough, his legacy's secured at Chelsea. If he was to come back and things was to get even worse, then I don't really see there being a way back for him long term in the future. I think as a manager, he probably needs to reset, go again, and maybe look at the Chelsea job in another couple of years after he's rebuilt himself.
Is it an attractive prospect for a young manager to go to Chelsea knowing that your shelf life might be short unless you win a trophy, a big trophy there in that season, whereas the likes of Luis Enrique and Carlo Ancelotti might be looking and going, what off a duck's bag?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Chelsea because they're running a different model to other top English sides. If you look at Liverpool, and you look at Jurgen Klopp, he's been there for 8 years now, or close to 8 years. If you look at Man City, Pep Guardiola, he's been there for a very long time. Arsenal are building something with Mikel Arteta. Chelsea have got a European model when it comes to managers, this hire and fire policy, similar to Real Madrid. So managers that have managed at Real Madrid, like the Ancelottis, like the Jose Mourinhos, they're used to it. Like you say, it's water for ducks back. If they can come in, win a couple of trophies, enhance their reputation, then I don't see why they turn down a job like that.
Spurs. Let's talk about Spurs because they must be an interesting prospect for a manager to walk into and think, okay, we haven't won anything in a long, long time. Could I be the man to turn that around? That's an attractive proposition for a manager.
It is, but we've not seen anybody do it. Like Spurs haven't won trophies since 2008. Unfortunately, it was a final against Chelsea, League Cup final. Jonathan Woodgate scored that header in extra time. It's ingrained in my memory. But Spurs are a side traditionally that don't spend a lot of money, they don't win trophies, and they play great football. Their last two high-profile appointments have been managers in Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte that need to spend a lot of money, are used to winning trophies, and play traditionally pragmatic football. It just was a match made in hell from the beginning. And so Spurs maybe need to go back and look at their appointments that have worked. If you look at Pochettino, Harry Redknapp, they're managers that they're very different in their essence, but they're managers that play good football. And that's what Spurs fans just want to see. If you're not going to guarantee winning trophies, which is not a guarantee in English football at the moment with Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp in the league, at least give the Spurs fans good football. And if they go back to that and they really understand their philosophy and they can rediscover their identity, then Spurs fans will be happy with that.
Will Spurs fans be happy?
Yeah, they have to be. They have to be. This is a summer where they could lose Harry Kane. They're on the brink of a major reset. Son has fallen off a cliff. If you look at the Spurs side that got to the Champions League final maybe 4 years ago, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, pillars of that side. Kane's probably gone in the summer. Dele Alli is not playing football in Turkey. Heung-min Son has fallen off a cliff and Christian Eriksen plays for Manchester United. This is a Spurs side that are in transition and they can't be expecting to challenge it for the major trophies for the next 3 or 4 years. So give the Spurs fans a good... I'm a Chelsea fan. I want to see Spurs like wallow in mid-table obscurity for the rest of their existence. But if Spurs fans, if the board want to appease Spurs fans and they want to give them something to cheer about, then give them good football, and that's a good place to start.
And keep Harry Kane. I mean, what manager's going to look at that job and go, oh yeah, that's an attractive prospect. We win nothing and we're losing the guy that gets us there.
Do you know what? I think that before Chelsea appointed Graham Potter, I think Potter would have been a great manager for Spurs. He's used to, at Brighton, used to not spending money, playing good football, and not winning trophies. And obviously, he took the Chelsea job for financial reasons. I believe the payout was incredible. And he's a good option for Spurs. Whether he'd take that job off the back of losing such a high-profile job, it remains to be seen. But somebody like that who fits the philosophy and identity of the club would be the best man to take him forward.
You would like to see Graham Potter get another opportunity in the Premier League, wouldn't you?
Oh, for sure, for sure. He's a good guy, and if you talk to anybody within the media and the press, he's a good guy to work with. He's a good guy to interview. And that might be the issue. If you look at the managers that are successful in world football, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, Jose Mourinho, they're feisty, they're fiery, they've got a bit of something about them. If they lose a game, you don't want to be interviewing them post-match. Potter's a bit too nice, and I don't like to say that because there's different ways to skin a cat, but he wasn't cut out for the Chelsea job, and I don't necessarily think that the way that modern football's set up, that he can really take a big club to win those trophies, because within that dressing room you've got egos that are used to win and they have to be impressed by the man and the manager. And I just think he lacked that man management aspect of it.
Will it be a struggle for Spurs to get a good manager, knowing that they don't back managers in the transfer windows?
Nah, it's a Premier League job. There was an outcry for the Super League and the fact that these British teams wanted to defect, but we're already living in a Super League. The Premier League is a Super League to an extent, and Spurs are one of those huge sides, and they've got the best stadium in the world. And despite the fact that Daniel Levy doesn't like to spend too much money. This is one of the top 10 clubs in the world. If you're a top manager, there's not many options available. And Spurs, if they are an option available, then you probably jump at that chance.
What about the history of Spurs, though, Quaker? That's a hard
yeah, and well, it's laughable.
I love that you had to laugh.
It's laughable though, and I've got a lot of friends who are Spurs fans, and it's admirable that they go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium week in, week out to see a team that doesn't win trophies. And for a side that are competing in the Premier League, that we've seen Leicester win the Premier League in 2016, we've seen Leicester win an FA Cup as well, we've seen Wigan win an FA Cup, and Spurs are struggling to win a trophy and haven't done so since 2008. It's an indictment on the board and Daniel Levy, because a club the size of Spurs and a club that has, I know we say they haven't spent as much money as the top clubs, but they have also spent money, haven't won a trophy in, 15 years? It's not right, and I can't understand why Spurs fans are frustrated.
Is it horses for courses, really, when it comes to an individual who might want a project or a certain challenge? The difference in between both clubs, they're both attractive prospects, but which pulls rank?
I'm always going to say Chelsea. Based in West London, historically, I say historically, over the last couple of decades have won all the trophies that there is to win. Spurs haven't got a history of that. And when you look at Daniel Levy and the way that he operates the club and the way that Spurs are going, and we've talked about Harry Kane already, Chelsea would be the most attractive option. Julian Nagelsmann is a manager that everybody's looking at. If you asked him, would you go to Spurs, would you go to Chelsea? I think we all know the answer is going to be Chelsea, just because of the history of the club. So despite the fact that I've said Spurs are an attractive prospect, when it comes up against Chelsea, then there's no real question about it. I think that it'll be Julian Nagelsmann. I'd like Luis Enrique, I like Carlo Ancelotti, but I think Chelsea's board are set on Nagelsmann.
And how long do you give him? I'm kidding. Quaker Farry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Tackle This. Please subscribe and don't forget to leave us your thoughts in the comments.